Hey YouTube, I decided to take you along with me here as I figure out how I want to bend this thing. Now, I already have this shape here because I made a template of this. So let me grab that and I'll show it to you real quick. So this is a template of the profile of the fender. Now you can see it fits on there pretty nicely. Okay, in the middle here is a little bit of a dent because the car was hit and there's some rust in there. So this bend you can see on this page is a fairly gentle bend till it gets down into here somewhere and then it curves in harder. So we need to know roughly where that is. So I've marked it at this point. So that means that I can hold this on my sheet of metal this direction and basically transfer this mark to it to know where to start to bend out a little bit harder. Now because this panel is on a taper, in other words it's straight here, let me just move this paper here, it's straight along here and that's what we're going to use as a straight line, but on the bottom here it tapers up and it's also rounded. Now the other thing I have, the other problem is if you hold a straight edge on here you can see there's not much of a difference in the curve, like maybe 3/8 of an inch at this point out to this straight line. I'm just basically holding it on there to give myself an idea of how hard it's curved. But if you hold the straight edge over here, you notice that the top from here in is about, I don't know, maybe 2 inches. So that means that this thing, even though you have this sort of steady, gentle curve, the further back you go, the harder that curve gets. So we need to find that. So holding this rule on here, it's aluminum rule, so it's sort of easy to bend. And this is about, I don't know, the middle of the radius going around there. If I hold this like this, you can see that I'm totally losing the rule off of the body somewhere down in here. So that's basically where the hard bend starts. Okay, so with this rule I can sort of bend that over there and I can see that it's 3.5 inches, which is right there roughly, to where this hard part of that shape takes place. So now what we do with that, or what I would do with that, is here's my template. Now even though the template's not long enough, the steel is, but I'm going to use the template because I can't hold the steel as easily and do this. So in other words, we have a bend that's gentle to this point all the way through there, but somewhere about 3.5 inches down, which would be about right here, is where this starts to curve harder. So even though I can take the whole panel and put a gentle bend on it to conform with this first part over here, this first section by the wheel well, I'm going to have to sooner or later in the panel have the top section here curve into this a little bit harder. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually take a line and take it from there to here, because that's actually what's happening there. From the point of this to 3.5 inches down over there, this panel goes from basically flat to a harder to the hardest part of the bend. So that means then that I can roll this panel, this whole panel like this, but then there's going to become a point in time where I need to roll the top part, this little triangle piece here, harder to get that to fall into place there, as well as getting the bottom bent in. So we're going to work on one thing at a time here, because none of this can be put into a break, you know, to get the actual bend. So we're going to start with getting the main curve fixed all the way through over in here, and then I'll work on getting this curve put through there. Alright, so basically, I know I say basically a lot, but this is sort of what we're talking about. This is where this line represents a point where the panel goes from a fairly flat area, like the same plane, to a harder curve up on the top here. And I want this to be able to fit in here all along. So that's what I'm going to do first. I'm going to get the basic curve all the way down. Then I'm going to put this bend in there. Once I'm done with that, I'll show you how that looks. Okay? So we'll be rolling it this direction. The steel plate that I have, or the peel sheet metal, will be rolled through the English wheel. In other words, the wheel will be running this way, and then up here it'll be running on a slight angle to give me this bigger curve in here. Alright guys, so that's where that's at, and I'll show it to you after I've done it.